Hello, welcome back to All For United WSC. Who would have thought, the transfer that someone's already put it in the chat, the least surprising transfer, I think, of this window. Everyone knew it was coming, but I don't think it makes it any easier, the fact we're sat here and we've got to talk about another starting 11 departures in the title. Is this going to be the last that we see of a starting 11 departure? We'll get into all that. We're going to start with, obviously, Ona. She's on the thumbnail and everything else. There's a lot of transfer news to get through. We will talk about Tunkara, Mary Earps, Robinson, Watson. There's a lot of players linked with us at the moment and all these kinds of things that are going on. We'll briefly touch on them towards the end, but I'll just come to each of the panelists then. The usual Monday crew. It's been a while since we've had the four of us on a Monday at 7 o'clock, usually match reaction, but here we are. I'll just come to each of you, kind of your initial thoughts then. And Barry, I'll come to you first, because as we said, we knew this was coming at some point, but obviously today was maybe a little bit of a surprise. So short period of time after the Russo one.
Yeah, I think deep down, as you said, everyone knew it was coming. And I think all this has really done is just confirm it. I think most people have made their peace with the fact that Ona was probably going to choose Barcelona. In some ways, I kind of prefer this. If you just think that every single player is going to go and then they stay, you feel a lot happier. Whereas if you sat there constantly thinking everyone's going to stay and then they go, it's a bit more depressing, isn't it? So maybe we should do that. Maybe we should all be negative, like, everyone's going to leave us. And then we can feel a lot happier that we've had like 20 odd stay while a couple have gone. Ona Batlle is without doubt one of the best footballers I've ever seen live. She is outstanding. She had skill going forward. She had skill at the back. She was calm. She had still more potential. She was able to block players coming towards her. She had good vision. She worked well down the right-hand side. She had good communication skills. She was a battling player. She will be hard to replace. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But actually, I feel quite calm about it. I feel that Ona has left this football club in entirely the right way. I feel that we knew she wanted to go to Barcelona. And even though she's come from Barcelona, that's where she wanted to be. That's the club that she wanted to be at. I can distinctly remember Roy Keane wanting to leave to have a season at Celtic because he'd always had a bit of love for Celtic. So I've got no problems with it. Am I disappointed? Yes. Do I feel like we've lost our best player? Yes. But I'm really not annoyed with Ona. I'm annoyed about the other one. That one's really wound me up. Not because I'm sat there particularly caring whether she stays or not. I just think it's the way that she went about it. You look at Ona's departing message, it's actually quite sweet, quite nice. Alessi has tried to do exactly the same thing. And all I can find myself saying is, if I play for Manchester United, let's just pretend, right, I'm 23 years old and I'm actually fit and not fat and I can run about all over the place. I don't care what you pay me at Man United. As a Man United fan, if you said to me, I'd like you to play for Man United, I'm playing. That's it, because that's where I want to be. That's my team. So to then just bugger off to Arsenal, absolutely disgraceful. So not happy with that. But Ona, said it earlier.
I definitely want to come back to Russo to have your threes kind of say on it because you weren't on the show on Friday. So we'll come back to each of you on Russo once we've kind of covered on a bit. Yeah, as you said with the messages and things like Ona's post was, I think Lanzell put it a bit earlier on. It was almost like an open message, an open letter, whatever you want to call it, to the fans, which certain other players that have left didn't do that and took us out of their bio within the minute that the club put the announcement out, which Ona didn't. She kept it there for a bit longer, which was nice. Charlie, for yourself, as Barry said, we've kind of most have prepared for this day coming. We've pretty much known it was going to be Barca for a long time. Yes, Mark, something is funny. I've just noticed you the last sentence of your comment, which I was looking at there. But Charlie, what's your kind of thoughts on it? I mean, Deborah's saying a bit further up, I'd have been far more upset if she'd have gone to another club other than Barca. Does that make it a bit easier for you, the fact that it's very unlikely we'll be playing her unless obviously we get to the last stages in the Champions League, or we get them in the groups, but we're not going to be facing her in the WSL?
Sorry, forgot to unmute. I might. You guys are a bit laggy for me, so I'm sorry if I am for you, but you can let me know. Yeah, on a sort of how she has left the club, kind of epitomises how she's been. So just been completely professional, world class until the last moment, and has always had a head in the game. Always been about Man United. And there's been rumblings for over a year about Barcelona, and it's not once impacted her performance. because crikey, if it had, imagine how much better she would have been. She's been absolutely incredible. I think there's all sorts we'll miss about her. You know, there's the obvious. There's obviously all the assists, how hard she worked. You know, she'd run up and down that touchline like Annika Rice on a bicycle, like absolutely incredible, and hard to replace. She's easily the best player to wear a red shirt for Man United women, easily. And I know it's only been 5 years, but we've had some good players come through the doors, and she's easily been the best one by a mile. And like I said, I think will always be a bit of a hero, won't she, because of how she's gone about it and how she's dealt with it. But yeah, a big boots for Jayde to fill, but a good challenge, I think. She's one of those players where it's always going to be really hard to replace because of so much she offered. I think we saw last season, the times when she wasn't there, how difficult we found things. But, you know, we're Man United and we'll find a way around it. We'll find a way to cope, and hopefully Mark will be able to get the right players in to try and replace her. But again, what a player. I feel lucky that we've been able to go and watch her every week, that she's been ours, a bit like, you know, Ronaldo the first time round. We'll always be proud that best player in the world was ours. And that's what it feels a little bit about with Ona for me as well. So just pleased to have had her with us for the years that we did. Glad that we kept her for an extra year when we might not have done. Thank goodness Barcelona can't look after their finances properly. But yeah, she'll be massively missed, I think.
No, for sure. And actually, has to come to you in a second. But as Sporty's saying there, as you both just said, you know, she's handled it with such class to a professional. Yeah, I don't think any United fan blames her for going back to Barcelona. Raven saying that Graham Hansen on that right hand side is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Barca don't need her. They've just upgraded again, even though they're the best team in Europe right now, and it's just they're going to be ridiculously good next year. But Jess, for yourself, what's your kind of initial thoughts after seeing it this morning?
Yeah, I mean, nothing more that I can really add, to be honest. I mean, she's just incredible, and like Charlie said, it's been an honour just to watch her, to be honest. Sorry, that was shocking.
That was Barry-esque, that was.
No, it's been class to see her in a United shirt. And we're always going to be able to say, you know, that she kind of came here and we almost like developed her a little bit. And yeah, I thought her kind of open letter to the fans was just amazing, basically. And you can tell how much it kind of means to her, and it doesn't seem like it's just sort of empty words, basically, that are kind of PR guys written. You know, she obviously really means it. Manchester holds, you know, I think she said before, Manchester holds a special place to her. She loves it here. And yeah, I completely understand why she wants to go to Barcelona. Not only is it her home, but I mean, they're the best team probably in the world right now. And I'd say she is, I think we've kind of touched on it before, she's not only just sort of like one of the best right backs, I'd say now she's kind of pushing for one of the best players all around. She's been incredible. So to be honest, yeah, I'm just really excited to kind of see how she gets on in that Barca team, because yeah, like Connie just said, they have just upgraded again, and it was really not necessary because they already were absolutely insane.
I think that's a little bit annoying. I'm just envious of Barcelona. Just looking at them as their team, it's just absolutely stacked, and they're already trying to add to another forward. They're already stacked forward line that they don't need either. There's obviously a couple of comments about. I'll move on to it now, actually, while the comments are talking about it. But Lanzar's saying here, we hammer our own club when they do wrong, but they can't do everything all the time when they put the money down and so on. I wanted to ask this question. I asked the same about the Russo thing. Is there any more that the club do you think could have done in this case? And the reason why I asked this, because again, the same with the Russo story that came out on Friday. There's conflicting reports again. The Spanish media are saying one thing, and the English media seem to be saying another. We know from what the Athletic have said that United seem to have offered a higher offer in the end than Barcelona, but the offer was too late for Ona to consider it, and that she was already going to Barca by that point. So I guess, Barry, coming to yourself first, do you think United maybe left it too late and maybe didn't see the value in her, I guess, earlier on in the season? Because we know that there was an offer a bit further, like earlier in the season. From what we hear, Ona's team wasn't very happy with that at the time. But do you think the club could have done more, or do you think it was just inevitable that she was always going to go to Barca this summer?
Well, I think there's so many factors. See, this is the thing. As fans, we'll sit there and we'll look at it, and we only look at it from Manchester United because we're biased. That's all we care about. As far as we're concerned, Man United is the biggest club in the world, and you should be staying here. End of story. Because we love Man United, and because we love Man United, you must too. And that is absolutely the right way for every fan to behave, because that's exactly what we feel. I feel like there's a lot of, unpacking that. That's a really loaded question because there's so many different factors. But I'm happy to do it, Connor, because I asked for this gig tonight. I very rarely say, am I on tonight? But tonight I did. I was ready. The club have absolutely mucked up here, 100%. And the reason why is simply because they did leave it too late. But when I say they've mucked up, what I mean is you don't leave it till 3 weeks before. Equally, they're trying to treat it like a business. And I understand that, it's a bit like when you go down the market and you're trying to haggle, and you sit there and you go, like on The Life of Brian, another film you won't have seen, how much for this gourd? 60, 30 maybe? No, 59. And you do a bit of that. And that's how a good negotiation should work. And that's where the club's gone wrong. If they've gone in too low to begin with, and then just left it ridiculously late. If they knew that their ceiling was that amount of money, and that money was actually more than Barcelona were offering, then that should have been offered weeks ago. The minute it became apparent we were going to be in the top 3, which, by the way, was quite early, 100% that should have been put out. Because at that point, you're trying to keep your players. If you are going to keep her and you're going to offer her that, at some point, somebody's got to blink first. And in my opinion, we should have blinked first. Now, would Ona have taken it? I don't know. And that's where the second thing comes down to, because it comes down to what does Ona want? What does the player want? Again, we can sit here and say we want you to stay at Man United because that's the club that we love and we adore. But she's from Barcelona. That's where she loves. That's her team. She loves it. That's where she came from. And she wanted to go back there. So you're really going to turn around to someone there and say you're not going back to your hometown if that's what they want to do? So you've got to take those things into account as well. So I just kind of feel like whatever's going on behind the scenes, money-wise, that's the big problem for me. So, yeah, I do feel there is blame for the club on this, more because of the time frame that they use. If you have players that you want to keep, you lock them down. Lock them down. If you're saying Ona Batlle is really important to us and we're going to offer her this amount of money, you should have done that earlier. So if that is the case, then the club's 100% at fault for that. Equally, you've got to include the players' wishes in that. And that's the whole point of a negotiation. And that's why I'm annoyed more at the Leslie thing, because there wasn't really a negotiation going on there. That was just pathetic. And it got to a point where everyone just actually, all that happened with that negotiation was that the fans basically went, well, do you know what? See you later. Don't let the door hit you on the backside on the way out, because we don't care for that. What you need, and I'll say this about Ona as well, we only want players that want to be here. Nobody wants players that don't want to be here, that are just here to collect a check, that are just here for those sorts of things. You want to play for Man United. That's how we as fans connect to the players in our team, because we know they want to be there. So for me, if Ona doesn't want to be here, and I don't say that negatively, if she doesn't want to be here, then don't be here. That's absolutely fine. Man United, as the song goes, will never die. We've lost a right back, but there's other players out there. She's not the only one.
Well, no, I don't disagree on that. We're going to get to Jayde in just a second. Well, in a little bit, and talk about should we be going in for another one. I think, following off what Barry's saying, Charlie, I agree with this comment as well. By the way, it depends on who you saw. So I think the club side, they're always trying to put it in favour of the club. If you speak to the player side, that 100% you're going to get both sides, and it's somewhere in the middle. And yes, Maria is very reliant. And I've just put in a little private chat. So Maria replied to somebody earlier, and the reason why I said there's conflicting reports is what the English media have said. A Barcelona fan, I can't remember who it was, quote tweeted that with the following: the English press lied, said that Ona had not decided anything, then released that she was only coming up for the money. Now they say it was because the offer came too late. Would it not be easier to admit the intention was always to return back to Barcelona this summer? And Maria, who you're referring to there, had replied saying that's correct. So what Spain is saying is that it was going to happen regardless. English media seem to be saying something different, and that United offered it too late. So Charlie, what do you think after what happened with Russo's a separate topic, I think, on this one, but in the case of Ona, I mean, is it just we don't know what to believe? Because, like I said, there's reports coming from Spain saying one thing and in England another, or what do you think has been the case on this one?
I mean, if she was always wanting to go back, and the Jayde signing in January, I think gave us an indication that was perhaps going to happen. But that's good planning. I think we know from men's football what the press can be like. you don't have to reveal your sources. So I could say I've got a source and never reveal it and say what I want, is what I could do. And I think Barry's right. No one but the people directly involved really knows what happened with Ona. And I'm glad it was that way. I'm glad it didn't turn into a circus, which is what it could have turned into if her agents and her family and whoever else have been biting back and throwing their weight around and doing this, that, and the other. I'm glad that we don't know the ins and outs of it, that it just happened, and it was amicable and people got what they wanted out of it. And again, I don't know, but if there was something that would have kept her, so if she wanted to stay, if we'd offered what Barcelona were offering, and for her, it didn't really matter which club she was at, if she would have been happy to stay, and we didn't offer her what she was worth, I think that's unforgivable with your most valuable player. But again, it's if that happened, and again, we don't know because of how they've gone about this, how they've dealt with it. They've dealt with it in the right way. There's been no one from her side coming out really and saying they've not offered X, Y, and Z. It's not been a circus act and a bit of a cluster. FUCK has it. But if there was the chance that she would have stayed had we made a better offer earlier, then of course it's a massive error in judgment to have not done that. But that's the thing with Ona, isn't it? We don't really know because it was a business deal that doesn't need to be made public, whereas the other one was disgusting.
Yeah, I definitely want to get both of your thoughts on that one in a second. I think I agree with you, Carol. I think I said this at the time when Maria came out and said that Ona was going to Barcelona at the time. I said that she would not, and I think Graham Folk came on the show and said at that time she would not stick her neck on the line and say that if there wasn't truth in it. And I fully believe I don't know where I stand on this because I've heard all season, and like Charlie, you said, I could just be saying yeah, I've heard, but nobody knows who I've heard it off. I trust the people that told me, but that the offer wasn't good enough until right at the end of the season. Now, however, I'm sticking up for the club a bit here, which I didn't think I was going to be doing. There was a comment a bit further up, Sport is saying, do you think it was reported late? Potentially. And this is where I think I feel for the club a little bit. Maybe they were waiting for Champions League officially to be done. So then going, right, okay, we can up the budget now because we're going to be in Champions League and so on. So maybe there was an element of that. However, I think with the money that we're talking about, Man United shouldn't need to wait for that extra bit of money to offer. We're talking peanuts to the type of money that we're talking about here. The offer that was reported initially, nowhere near what Ona should have been. So there's that as well. But I get the point. Maybe they were waiting. If they were waiting, fine. I don't agree with it personally because I think it's not that much money in the grand scheme.
And it's rubbish if they're waiting because then Mark can't forward plan. If you're waiting until the last day of the season or whatever it is to clinch Champions League football, it's just poor management. That's just not from him. That's poor planning from the people above him. And again, you've just got to hope to God that that's not the approach they're taking.
Well, again, we're it's ifs and buts, I guess. It depends. Again, it goes back to the comment I brought a bit further. It depends who you believe. You know, people believe certain journalists over others. It depends, and certain people over others. It really depends what you believe.
I think we'll never fully know. Everyone's going to have their own kind of ideas or thoughts. Everyone's going to take, even if you kind of read something, people are going to take that a different way and twist it. Maybe it's a little bit like Chinese whispers as well. This is just, again, my opinion and the idea I've got. It's not like Ona's my best mate and we sit at night chatting about it. I kind of got the impression that she loved United. I think she was always going back to Barcelona. I don't think that's a doubt in anyone's mind. I think she was always going back to Barcelona. I think that she potentially would have given us another season, maybe two, had we gone in with a better offer early on. I do believe that we probably lowballed her quite a bit because that seems to have come from a few different sources. So I think that's pretty certain, maybe. So, maybe if we'd gone in higher, then, she'd have signed a new contract. I do still think that she'd have gone in 2 seasons, maybe, because I do think to her Barcelona is home in the same way that a certain someone else used to refer to United more as home. But again, like Charlie was saying before, I do appreciate this was just a business deal. And the reason that we're all speculating is because we don't actually know. And that is how it should be, really. At the end of the day, they couldn't make an agreement for a new contract. And Ona has made a choice to go and join Barcelona, who are the best team in the world, probably. And again, it doesn't really matter because I don't think any of us can blame her for it one way or another. That's kind of her team, that's her home. So you go, girl, basically.
No, 100%. I know, Barry, you want to just jump in quickly. I do see this question. I'm going to come back to it when we cover Russo in just a second. So I will come back to it. I saw you put a question a bit further up as well. I will come back to this. I'm not purposely ignoring it. But Barry, you wanted to come back in on this.
Well, I just wanted to point out, I mean, you said about the wages as well. I think what winds me up more than anything else is that we've seen that thing come out on Twitter, which, again, I've got no idea where the truth of it is. But you look at all of the clubs and all the profit they've made. And we were the only club that were sat there having made profit. And it frustrates me that we can be the club that's 900 grand in profit at the end of a season. That money's got to be used. And for me, that would have been an opportunity for the club to have given some of that to Ona. We're talking about budgeting. It shouldn't be this hard. We're Manchester United. We're not exactly poor, even if we have got built on the debt of the Glazers and all that sort of stuff. We've still got a ridiculous amount of money. I love the fact that we're not chasing after it in the way that Chelsea, Arsenal, these other teams are, by just throwing money at it while it's still not profitable. I like the model. I like the idea. What I didn't like was the idea that for the private jets, not for them to come and watch the women, though, I don't think. But for me, it's just massively important that they think a bit more about where that money is going, because I really do believe that we could have used that.
100%. That's a point I made on Friday, actually, about Russo, when I said, when we're talking about the offer came in a bit late, I reported for Russo as well, even though, again, I'm talking about that question. I'll come to it in a second, but I don't believe that. But, when you're talking about the fact that we are the only team, and it's not by like 10k, 20k small, it's like you said, 800, it's either 800 or 900,000 in 21-22. I imagine our 22-23 is going to be even higher because our attendances were a lot higher last season than it was in 22. So I think it was definitely a part of that. For me, I think there was issues on a lot of sides, particularly around Ona's contract. If you're Ona, people can call me deluded or what. I fully believe Ona would have stayed at least for another couple of years if the offer at the start of the season was as good as it should have been. However, I can see why, if in quote marks, the reason why United were holding on to it was to secure Champions League and then up the offer. I can see why. But that's not saying I agree with it, because I think the contract at the start of the season should have been good enough. I thought Barry, you were going to say something.
I was just going to point out, because I've seen this come up now 3 or 4 times. I'm going to forget to respond to her at this rate. This thing about Mary, I've actually gone on to Sky Sports to listen to what it was that Mary said. And Mary hasn't hinted it was a personal decision. Her exact words were that nobody knows the whole situation. And with that in mind, then we can probably have our conversation now about whether or not we believe the club or not, if that's what you're going to go down. But ultimately, what she did say, she said, all that matters is Leslie is happy. That's what a friend would say. I'd expect her to say that. But she absolutely does not come out there and go, do you know what? Leslie's got reasons why she wanted to go home. That's not what she said, unless that's written somewhere else. But the thing that I'm seeing from Sky Sports and the words that I've heard come out of Mary Earps' mouth were that we don't know the whole story, and that is just as equally weighted towards the club as it is towards the player. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Suits, so I'm very much into having these arguments and where we go.
I think it was weird. I think the Mary Earps thing was weird when I watched it, because I think it'd be really easy just to say, oh, I just fancied a new challenge, blah blah blah, something very inoffensive. You could just say that, couldn't you? But she didn't say that. Exactly. I just thought it was weird.
Very weird.
I thought it was so strange.
Tooney didn't bother to do that. Her best mate didn't sit there and go, I understand there's reasons why you want to go back or anything like that. Tooney's just like, all right, mate, don't worry, have fun. It'll all be great. Have fun. Brilliant. Love you. Miss playing with you. Mary Earps, who knows? I wonder why she's gone. Let me see. We think. So, very different. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know what you're. I'm not going to bring that comment up, but I know what you're referring to when you're talking about Russo's awards. My tweet that kind of blew up a little bit as well. I don't think I helped with my tweet that I put out on that. But on that, I think that was what Stu Barker said on Friday about Russo. At Arsenal, would that happen the way that they run things? We don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. So much. I think that was in reference to your impression.
Mate, I'm not being funny. I'm from London. I mean, the fact I can do any accent is, it's also trying to do one while pretending to be a girl as well. It's not easy. I've got work to do on the acting skills.
Jess,
it's been a while.
Closest to
drama.
Jess is probably closer to Manchester to get more of a Toonie accent.
I'm not that far north, unfortunately. So. Even I don't think anyone other than people from like Wigan area can pull off that accent, seriously.
I think my question was the accent for me as bad as her singing is when she starts throwing her songs out like she does?
Oh, I don't know on that one. I'll let the viewers decide what they think on that one. I love our Russo. Well, we're going to talk about her in a second. So a couple more Ona questions, and we are going to talk about Russo as well, because it does kind of all tie in together. Charlie, you mentioned this earlier. You kind of stole the limelight, so I was going to ask this anyway. So I tweeted this off the AFU account earlier. Barry, for yourself, and I'll follow on Charlie and Jess just following. Is Ona the best player United women have ever had? There's been some good ones, but is she the best player that we've had?
Do you know what? I'm going to say no.
Oh, in that case, I'm going to ask who's above her.
Well, I think because you can't just sit there and go, who's the greatest player to play for Man United women without taking into a variety. What do you go for? Longevity, commitment, goals scored?
Just player ability. Is she the best?
Just pure ability. It's Jackie Gronin, isn't it? Senior Britain. All these people were magnificently talented. I saw Jane Ross do Keepy Uppies once. I mean, they're all more talented than me. What are you expecting? I don't know where you want me to go. Listen, Ona Batlle is without a doubt in the top 5, and I think I have to keep it there. She's 100% in the top 5, but just on a metric of just pure talent. I mean, she's a right back. Is she going to be better? I mean, don't get me wrong. She had a cracking shot on her. She had some brilliant efforts from outside the box, inside the box. Was she as good at heading as, say, Russo was? Or, I don't know. All round, maybe there might be others that were better, but then there's attackers who were better than her at defending. So, I don't know. I think definitely in the top 5, possibly even the top 3, Connor. I'm not sure I can say she is 100% the top, but she's bloody good, and I will miss her.
I mean, Charlie, I think you said yes when you did your bit earlier on, so I'm assuming that's going to be your answer now, unless you've changed it in the last 15 minutes.
No, yeah, I think she's the best player that's played for us. I hope she isn't forever. I hope someone better does come along. So that'd be a good thing. I just think the influence she has on the whole team when she's playing, when she's not playing. And also, I put quite a lot of onus on how fans respond in the ground when a player gets on the ball. And what you always found was whenever she got on the ball and started driving forwards, it was like everyone was on their feet. Everyone knows something amazing is about to happen. And that, that happened with Ronaldo, that happened with Wayne Rooney, players like that, more recent players that the youngsters will be more familiar with. It's been that same sort of thing, something so exciting about her, which again is probably unusual as a fullback to have that sort of impact on the team and the crowd response. I just think, I think she's the best.
Jess, for yourself?
Yeah, first I just want to give Barry a little shout out for his answer. That was like a politician's answer. I'm not even sure what the response was.
I'm going to come back to
it. For me, I kind of agree with some of the comments. I really, really liked Tobin Heath. Probably just kind of on the downhill of her career, I guess, when she was at United. But I do really rate her. So special little shout out for her. But yeah, for me, Ona has got to be the best player that's put on a United shirt. I think I know obviously you can't compare her to other positions, but just for her performance. I mean, how many times have we come on this show and said that Ona was our player of the match? Ona had a kind of bad game this week, but only a 7 out of 10 instead of her normal 9 or 10 out of 10. that was a bad game for her. She was probably the most consistent player we've ever had. So yeah, for me, she's the best player to put on a United top, definitely. So far, though, I would like to see that change.
I've narrowed it down to 2, Connor. I think May Letizia has got some incredible potential, and we could be having the same conversation in a few years about her. But for me, it's between Ona and Ella. And I say that, again, due to longevity, the amount of goals scored. Ella really is the poster girl for Man United women, I think, in the respect of how many games she's played, how many goals she's scored, the fact that she scored in the Euro finals for the women as well. So I think she's got to have her name mentioned when you're talking about, the greatest players ever at United women. But then if you were to ask me out of those 2, which one's the most technically brilliant, that's where I'd struggle. So it's between Ona and Ella for me.
Yeah, I don't saying which Ella.
Ella Toon. Was there another Ella?
I'm trying to think now. Have we had another one?
Ella Fitzgerald? She was a singer, Connor.
You got me questioning now whether there's been another one.
I'm pretty sure there's not. There's an Ella at Stevenage, but I'm not remembering another Ella. Ella Toon, just in case you're struggling with that one. That helps.
Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, there we go.
One who we've now got to find a new song for because one of them decided to foxtrot Oscar.
Yeah, no other apparently.
Soon he is left on her own. And I hate it.
She might be at the end of this window, that's for sure.
Status quo on now.
I love Zelly.
I was going to say, not sure. I mean, I love Zellum, I love too, but I think Ona for me is the best.
She'll be a club legend, Zelly. Zelly will be a club legend, I think.
Correct.
A bit like Roy Keane, wasn't the best player, but just a brilliant leader.
Oh, they're all raining down.
Barella. Yes.
I
like Marcus's. That was a good one. Did you put that one up?
Which one was that one?
One above it.
That one. There you go.
Yeah. Elevator, I think he was going there. It's good.
Mark's going in with a new chat.
That gave me a lift, that one.
Oh, we need to keep
You know
her
what?
though for that to work.
Mark, I came up with that exact one and I got slandered for it because Cascarino's apparently on her way back home, so it's gone again.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Potentially it's turns into a bit more, but I don't know on that one. But no, for me, yeah, Ona is the best player in a United shirt. I just think when you're looking at her over, I think Mark said it earlier on, most consistent. And Jess, you said whenever we're talking about her having a bad game, it's a 6 at the very lowest. Whereas other players, you're looking at 2s, 3s, and 4s. Whereas I've not seen Ona have a bad game. So yeah, for me, I think it's Ona by quite some margin. But I think not that one. Sorry, Mark. That was the one I was. That was the one I was going to bring up. Firstly, I think if you're looking at a top 3, that's probably right. But Barry makes a very good point. I think when we're looking at it in a couple of years' time, Letizia, I think we'll be in that conversation because she's just been that good, and for her age, I think when you're looking at talent,
I'd like to think that apart from being light relief, I do try and make good points every now and again, Connor. Otherwise, there wouldn't be much point in me being.
There you go. You made a new fan, so that's good.
Loving life.
It's growing. As Brosh said, make sure you like, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks for saves me from doing it, but I'll shout you out anyways. Thanks for joining and all for the comments as well. It's been a good chat so far. It's cheered me up a little bit because I was kind of dreading doing another depressing leaving show, so that's for sure. I've never seen on the rating on the app go below a 7. I think, well, as I said on the show last week, I think it was, when you're looking at our player of the match polls throughout the season, she's way out in front for most appearances and won it the most by quite some margin as well. Another out of 10 thing for you then before we kind of move this on a little bit. How would you rate Ona's time at United out of 10 over the seasons that she was here? So I asked this about Russo on Friday, and the scores were a lot lower. And I don't know whether that was a bit reactionary to what we've seen, obviously, happen in the last few weeks. There was a lot of 4s and 5s for Russo.
That's her own fault.
On Friday. Russo would have been an 8. Absolutely an 8. 100%. Inconsistent at times, but an 8. Anyone who's saying 4 has let the situation get a little bit out of control. The way she left was terrible. Nobody's a fan of that, but 100%, 7s, 8s, and 9s I'll accept.
So for Ona, then, what are you?
10, 100%.
Yeah, I think
I can't.
Ona is perfection.
100%, because of all of those same reasons. The fact that she always had good games, She had the right attitude, the right professionalism all the way through. She had the right relationship, I feel, with the fans, and she's left well. She's not caused any dramas, no problems. To me, from start to end, absolutely brilliant. So, yeah. I mean, if we don't want perfection, maybe 9.9 if that's allowed. Just because there's always a chance to improve. That 0.1 could have been signing the bloody contract, but she hasn't, so never mind. 10. I'd be rubbish on Strictly, wouldn't I?
Is Lucy Bronze going to be benched now?
I was thinking that with Ona going, or I mean, I know
Ona is a lot better than current Lucy Bronze.
Bronze struggled a lot with like her knee. She was out again recently, wasn't she? I think she went for another knee op.
Yeah.
Unless they stick Ona to the left-hand side.
Oh, what a waste. Funny about. Don't play your best player out of position. Give over.
It's not me picking the team. I know, I'm just suggesting maybe. Oh, no, let's not do that.
Why go for bronze when we've already got gold in Riviere?
Well, exactly.
Just
That's
my mouth
because
is
you've got
just
a gold medal, for anyone that doesn't know.
Do you see what I mean, right? I mean, the fact you had to explain it is a worry, but well done.
Yeah, don't Lanzel, because that will come back to bite me now if that happens.
But she brings clear a Welsh river, that's fine. That's the only circumstances on which I'm
100%
happy
I'd
about
accept
it.
that. There was a question. I did say I'd get to these quick. Yes, Lanzel. Yes, we do. One day. I'm pushing that. I did actually ask. I did get somebody to ask her that question a few weeks ago. I don't think it's happening. Just put it out there.
What are we doing? Just picking fullbacks now. If we can pick.
I wasn't going to.
Oh,
but
okay.
I mean, we can while we're here and on the conversation. Do we need to sign another fullback? Obviously, we signed Jayde Riviere in the last.
Still need
window.
another fullback.
Do we need another one to replace Ona to go directly into that slot, or do we think Jayde
Is
will
Martha
become
Harris available?
Right. Do we need a backup?
Lots of Ockfist. Yeah, definitely. Because if Jayde gets injured or Hannah, then we're stuffed, aren't we?
Who are off? So we've got 4 can play there. Blundell obviously.
Yeah, but as soon as we
put
get back,
four back
going,
at right back, me and Mark are going to fall out of
They
it.
can play there. They can play there if they have to.
So that we have got Rav John as well.
Yeah, but she's about 8. Like we need to, like, I'm all for buying younger players, but for goodness sake, let's not move away the fact that we've talked about this another time, I know, but we do need to buy ready-made, good to go. Not putting all that pressure on an 8-year-old. It's mental, that is.
Oh, wow.
Like, she's young, isn't she? Can't be doing that.
I'm not sure she's 8, though. I mean,
She's a little bit older. 12?
12.
That's a bit more like it.
Yeah, we need
She's only
experience.
like year 4.
Not Lucy Bronze, though, Vic, so stop trying to push that agenda. We know what you're up to, cheeky.
Just for yourself, do you think we need a starting right back, or do you think we need a backup one? I guess my question is, do you think Jayde is going to start on the right hand side next season?
Jayde can start. I don't see why she couldn't. So I think if we're looking for someone, unless we're going to find someone literally ready-made, in a first team for a proper quality sort of fullback, then I think basically replace Jayde, as in like on the bench. I don't see why Jayde can't start.
I think it makes sense. Why would Jayde not start? And she's had the perfect training. She's had months to settle in, to get used to the United way, to understand how we play and all of that sort of stuff. She's going to get a whole pre-season, and touch wood, she's again, I hate reading the comments whilst I'm talking. I really should learn my lesson on that one. But I think she'll have had that ability to have a whole free season, and hopefully she'll remain, touch wood, injury free. But we absolutely need another fullback. If we don't get ourselves another fullback, for me, the biggest problem we've got is depth, and that's the thing we've really got to worry about. We said that even if we kept every player that we already had. And that's going to be the big thing. We've got to make sure we've got the depth to be able to compete in the Champions League and in even like the Conti Cup, because we didn't have the depth prior to this rather wonderful season that we've enjoyed. So for me, if people want to see squad rotation, you've got to have good depth. Hannah Blundell and Jayde Riviere, to me, 2 excellent fullbacks. If you're then having to start dropping to Evie Rabjon and Thor, or even Leah Galton dropping into left back, all of a sudden you start pushing people around. And I love this idea about the devs as well, but it comes back to that question of, is the gap between development football and senior football still too large? So I don't know. My hope would be we can bridge that, but I don't know if that is potentially been done.
As this comment is Sporty saying there, you know, we have got Jess Sippen, who has now signed a pro contract, so can play it. But again, when you're talking about the gap between development and starting, I don't know. I mean, I can see this comment. People have already replied to it. She's going to Chelsea, so that one's off the cards. Mark's put a name in the chat. Denise Irwin. Should we go for her? Patricia Everett, maybe. I'm liking these. This is something that will start.
Denise Irwin, very good. Yeah, nice. Well, you'd have lost the plot. Outrageous. Philippa Joe, very nice.
This is going to go on for ages.
Maureen Barker, yes, it's great. Brilliant. Gabby Ainser.
Yeah.
Don't need to change that one too much.
There's probably plenty of people watching this for the first ever time, by the way. So if you're new to the channel, this is what it's like at times. Haley
Maguire.
I like that one. That's a good one.
Philippa Neville. There we go. Maybe
we'll put that one.
We'll maybe put this out as a tweet and see what.
Stephanie Bruce. Thank you. Lakeisha Rashford, very nice, yeah.
I can't remember what I was going to ask now. Going Brickert, I can't see that happening.
No, me neither.
No. Isn't Barcelona? Well, we might touch on this towards the end because there's a loose rumor, I guess.
Can I just point out there is no way Alex Ferguson's playing right back for Man United Women. So God himself will not be available.
Devon Mark going to kill me off on here. Anyway, I can't even remember what I was next to ask. I think there was a question a bit further up about Mario. In fact, no, I wanted to get your thoughts on Russo, even though you've kind of given it anyway. Just, I guess the question, maybe not more towards Russo, but in the last 4 days, whatever you want to say, we've lost 2 of our starting 11. There's obviously talk about Mary Earps as well. Emma Sanders saying a couple of weeks ago that, and Catherine Batty was on here Friday saying that United and Mary are nowhere near a new contract at the moment. So there's obviously concern there. Are you a little bit worried that the window's not even open yet, and we've already lost 2 of our starting 11, could lose 3, and after all of this, after the fact we've had our best ever season, reaching a cup final, and everything else that came with it, the fact that we're losing these players, or we've got to look at these cases on an individual basis, because the Russo one, as people know my thoughts on Friday, was a little bit different, and I think there's a reason. The comment a bit further up from this good self, and this isn't the comment you were talking about, but I just wanted to bring your name up. You were asking earlier, why do you believe the Ona one and not Russo? I'll let these guys give their thoughts on it, and I'll come back round to me because I spoke a lot on Friday about this. So Barry, for yourself, 2 questions really. One, are you a little bit concerned the fact that Ona and Russo have gone? When I think most of us said throughout the season we think one of them will stay. The fact they've both gone within a couple of days. And also that thing on Russo, why we believe certain stories about Ona, but maybe not so much about Russo.
Okay. Am I concerned? I'm concerned. I'm concerned why people would decide to take a club that's going on the up and then not work with it. My mate Chris, the guy that won the Predictions League that we did this year, he said the year that Leicester won the Premier League, obviously Jamie Vardy was a target for Arsenal. And I got wound up at that. I'm not even a Leicester fan, but I'm like, if you're Jamie Vardy, you've just spent time at Leicester, you've won something that you never thought you were going to win. Surely you pay that back the next season and you try and help that club and lift it and elevate it. Surely you get more pleasure out of elevating a club than joining one that's already there. So from my point of view, if you're choosing to leave, which both of them have done, you know, regardless of what we think about the answer to question 2, if you're Ona Batlle, you've gone to Barcelona, who everyone's just said are the best team in the world. So that's number 1. And then number 2, Russo's gone to Arsenal, who are, due to periods of longevity, better than United in terms of the amount of trophies won. So that's what both these players have done. They've gone to places which already have a history of winning things, rather than helping the club that has had their best ever season. So for that point, am I concerned? No. If you don't want to be here, then get on the train and off you pop. It's not a problem. I only want players playing for Manchester United that want to play for Manchester United. If you don't want to be here, that's the door. See you later. Having said that, am I concerned? I'm a little bit concerned insofar as the players are not, the ones we want to sign aren't being announced yet. And I think for me, that's the big thing. We should be used to this at Man United. We never, ever, 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 ever get the announcement of players at the time we should get them. It always seems to take a very long time for us to get them. But when you're like me and you just trust the management team to do the right thing, there will be targets. There will be players that are coming in. So am I concerned? Not massively. There's a plan. It's not like Skinner's going to be sat there going, oh my God, 2 players have left and I didn't know that was going to happen. How am I going to pull these people out of their back pocket? They'll have targets. They'll have people that they're going to get, and they'll probably have dates when they're allowed to announce things. So am I concerned? No, not yet. With regards to Russo, why do I leave the club? I hear a lot of stuff. Most of it, 99.9% of it, absolute balderdash. Like, you know, I take pretty much all of it with a pinch of salt. And I think for me, I just try and look at the whole situation. I don't think Messi was right since January. And I'm not going to sit here and start revealing why it is I feel the way that I feel, other than to say that I'm not a particular fan of the way that I understand the negotiations to have gone. And quite frankly, I think that the people involved in the deal, not from the club side of it, should be ashamed of themselves. And that's really all I've got to say on that. And quite frankly, I hope she has a lovely career. I hope she really enjoys Arsenal. And, you know, she was brilliant. She gave me one of the greatest moments that I'll ever at Arsenal. And I'll tell you what, I don't think she's going to give them too many great moments, if I'm honest with you. So, see you later, let's see.
No, I couldn't.
What I will say, though, sorry, I saw up there about death threats and things like that. Those people need to get a grip of their life. You know, she's left a football club. You know, she hasn't set fire to a house with people in it. Get a grip of it. You know, she's left a football club. I'm not massively happy with her, but by the same token, I'm not losing any sleep about it.
Oh, no, 100% on that one. That's just ludicrous. People going way over the top. It seems to happen with these things on social media. Someone has just sent me a screenshot, though. Someone has updated the Wikipedia page for Russo and Arsenal, which someone's been having a bit of fun. Is what it is. Fair play to her. She's going there. We've known that for some time now. There was a couple of comments I wanted to get to. This is really hard now because my mouse is just broken. So I'm scrolling using the little pad in front of me, which is not good because it doesn't really work. Charlie, I'll throw the question over to yourself, but also this and what if I question Russo is that Arsenal can approach to the end, and they still can't, by the way. Still 2 weeks until they can officially talk to her. But we know
but everyone knows that's a load of rubbish.
Yeah, everyone gets around that and bends the things. But I guess the 2-part question I asked Barry, really, in terms of, are you concerned, I guess, that we've lost 2 of the 11 already, with the window not even open yet, but also why we believe certain stories about Ona and maybe not the ones about Russo?
I think when you are leaving a club, we talked about the way Ona left the club and the lack of stories and the lack of sensationalising and the lack of leaks for drama. And you compare that to Russo leaving, it's not just if you've followed like football for a long time, the transfer windows, you will have experienced things like this before, when agents and people connected to a player will release all sorts of things to get the outcome that they want, or to spin the story that they want to. And just for me, I always feel uncomfortable. Like if you want to go, if you want to go for whatever reason your agents want you to go, then go. But when there is the sheer volume of conflicting stories being released, sources saying things to journalists, someone's doing that deliberately to create unrest and make things uncomfortable, and there's just no need for it. I think it's really unprofessional. Like if there are agents and things releasing things that are half truths or untruths and whipping up drama, this looks awful to me. Like I remember Fergie, I've said to somebody before, Fergie said it was when Paul Pogba went the first time, RIP to his old agent, but he said if the agent's not up to much, if the agent's not a good person, player's not worth dealing with. And I'd probably say it appears to me to be like that again. But what I would also say is, being a Man United fan, we know with the men's side, transfer window after transfer window after transfer window, Man United are a bit of a whipping boy. People like to put a kicking in. Like last summer, the men were apparently going to buy 100 players. It was 100 players we put bids in for. What a load of rubbish. And now that Man United are one of the most profitable women's teams, create the most revenue, second only to Barcelona. I know there are other bits and pieces to the finances, the amount of money that they make. It's the same thing is just going to happen. Agents and players and their families are going to say, oh, Man United have not done this, or Man United have put a bid in, or Man United have, just to get better moves elsewhere. So for me, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I just missed the day of the first thing you knew about it was looking at the back page of the paper. That's when you knew. That was it. I hate everything else. I hate everything else that comes with it. It's just uncomfortable. And people manipulate it for their own gain.
There's certainly been a lot of, and I think when you're talking about the leaks and things like that, I think that's what's been frustrating with the Russo one. Whereas Ona, it's been Barca. It got reported toward the end of the season. I think it was the last week of the season. It officially came out that she was probably she had signed for Barcelona, and that was it. And she left and did her message and everything else. Whereas with the Russo one, it's been leaks all throughout the season. There's been different things, and clubs are obviously been interested. There was a lot of clubs in Ona, but you didn't hear about it. Unless you were speaking to people around it, it didn't always come out. It was kind of on the down, and it was dealt with differently. I think that's what annoyed me. I said this on Friday. Jess, for yourself, same questions really about the concern and also about the difference between the two.
Yeah, not overly concerned, to be honest. At the end of the day, it's football, and both of these players were running out of contract. So it's kind of been on the cards for both of them. Even Ona, kind of earlier on in the season, there was doubt, and it was a case of, okay, well, if she doesn't sign, she's probably going to go to Barcelona. Russo was a bit different because although it seemed like she was sort of playing hardball, or agents playing hardball with the contract, it wasn't until the January transfer window that suddenly Arsenal came along. And that's where things kind of started going downhill. And whilst originally, I think during the season, I'm glad she didn't leave us in January, because at the end of the day, I don't know if we would have finished where we did. But we finished second, and she's taken a step across, maybe. It's not like she's done an honour and is literally going to the best team in the world. She's basically going to a rival, and this is football. We want women's football to be just as kind of passionate as men's football, and if male player did this, we would be calling them snakes, let's face it. So why should it be any different? And don't get me wrong, I love Russo, really, still gonna rate her, but I do think out of the two, she is the more replaceable. I don't think her head's been in it since potentially January. Don't think she's really been on top form. So if she doesn't want to be it, if she wants to go chasing, I don't even think she's chasing money, because apparently they just offered the same amount, then fine. Yeah, she's a little bit closer to home, but at the end of the day, this is England. We're not like in America where you've got to catch like a 6-hour flight from one side of the country to the other. I think she's from like Kent. Yeah, it's a bit of a trek from Manchester, but it's football. What's she going to do? Spend the rest of her career in London because she gets homesick? I don't think that's really too much a part of it. If she was kind of playing for an American side, then yeah, I get it. Or a side in Europe, wants to be close to home, yeah, I get it. But I don't, that reason isn't going to fly with me, because I just, like I say, what's she going to do? Spend the rest of her career only playing for London clubs? I think she made a choice, and fine. See you later.
Can I just, on this thing that you just put up from Carol here, So let's just say this is what happened, right? So Leon have offered more money to Russo. We apparently United match. So let's just say play this scenario out. If it's not money, it seems more personal. Well, where was that then? You know, the personal person that's left was Ona Batlle, because she said, I want to go to Barcelona, only Barcelona, and that's the one she chose to go to. That's personal. That's the bit where it wasn't about money. It wasn't about anything like that. It was like, that's the tipping point for me. We don't have that with Russo. At no point has she said, I want to be closer to Kent. At no point has she said, you know, this is where I want to be. None of that's happened. This is the club that, when you listen to that video, honestly, I listened to that video, I was nearly violently sick in the sink. Honestly, it was one of the most ridiculous pieces of produced footage that I've ever seen in my life. Ona Battle's was from the heart. Leslie Russo's was sorted by some sort of PR agency, and it's gone down like a lead balloon. And you can't be surprised as to why that's happened. I'm sorry. You are talking to actual Manchester United fans, and you want us to believe, I can't even believe I've got to say it again, but you want us to believe that it's the hardest decision you ever made to leave the football club that you dreamed of playing for and leaving the shirt in a better place. You haven't, Leslie. You still didn't hit double figures for us. I've sat here week after week claiming you had all the potential in the world. It's like, it's the number 23 shirt. Nobody's going to be sitting here saying, oh, well, I really want to wear the 23 shirt necessarily. I'm sorry. But I really think that the hype that's gone on there. I mean, you said about her back heel. And, you know, I've bigged Leslie Russo up, and I'm not taking away her potential. Absolutely not. But this idea that you can just go, I wanted to stay, it was a really hard decision to make. It wasn't that hard, love. It can't have been, because if it was that hard for you to make, we'd have seen that. And that's not what I've seen. So, like Marriott says, to me, as long as she's happy, that's fine. I don't wish her any ill will. I hope she has a fantastic career. I hope she does really well for the Lionesses. But I also hope she scores about 84 own goals for Arsenal and gets relegated next season. Because I'm a Man United fan, not a Leslie Russo fan, much as I love her.
No, 100%. I can't add anything more. I had my say on Friday on a lot of this, but yeah, I think when you're talking about fees and things like that, obviously it got reported, and I've had it collaborated, United would offer similar to what Arsenal are going to be offering, but there's a lot more to it than just the wages when you're talking about signing on fees and agent fees and everything else, and sponsorship rights and everything else that comes with it. There's a lot that comes with a transfer that you don't see, and that doesn't get reported for obvious reasons, because it's not really relevant to the transfer that go into these things. But 100% with Barry, I think if she wanted to stay, the option was there. Whereas Ona, if we'd have put a competitive offer, she might have stayed for a couple of years, but at some point she was always going back, like to Barcelona at some point in her career.
It's like, why Arsenal? What have Arsenal got that we haven't at this moment in time? They play at Bournemouth, which I'm sorry is a worse ground than we've got LSB. They want to call it a carpet. It's not that great. It's got some of the worst car parking I've ever seen in my life. It looks like you're off to do some sort of unmentionables near the park. It's ridiculous. It is honestly, like, it's not far from the Big Brother studios. It's just, I can't even. I'm sorry. Yes, you get the chance to play at the Emirates every now and again, but that's about as soulless as, I don't know, a church in the middle of a funeral. It's like there's just no fun in this. I can't work out why you decided to go there. That's what hurts. It's not like she went to Chelsea where you're almost guaranteed a trophy. It's not like she went somewhere that's got that success. She's basically stabbed us in the back / front. I think it's the most atrocious decision I've ever seen from a football player for a long time. And somebody's put up there that I'm heartbroken. I am, because I had a bit more faith. And I just feel a little bit let down, because I genuinely did believe that getting Champions League would be enough for people to sit there and actually go, do you know what? We're going to try and pull this club up to the next level. And the fact that she doesn't want to be on that train, well, that's fine. Get off the train. See you later. This train's getting there with or without you. With or without you. Bit of you too. Love it.
I was going to say.
Playing that next. With or without you. Love it.
I can't wait to double over them again next season.
Oh, mate.
Oh, that's going to be dreamy. That we've got to do it.
I hope
We'll use every other team in the league.
Yeah. Maya and Rachel bodying them.
I was just going to say, we've got Rachel Williams. She's number 10. She's number 10 in the WSL top scorers list. She sneaked herself in there. She's on like 46
Rachel.
goals.
Rachel did.
Williams.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding, Charlie. I
What a
saw that.
hero.
I fell off my chair. That's probably why I've forgotten to tell you. I got a concussion from it. Unbelievable. She's got like 46 WSL goals. I'm like, what a legend. So for me, it's all about Rachel in the 50-plus club.
100%. And you know what? I can't wait for next season watching Maya absolutely body Russo off the ball. It's going to be like cinematic. Like beautiful.
Yeah. There's a lot that can happen next year. On this point, very quickly, I wish Emma had reported more on these deals. I think we will see more on Russo when it's official. As I said, officially, Arsenal shouldn't be talking to Russo yet, even though we know that there's been contact and everything else. So I think when the 1st of July comes around and that officially gets signed and more stuff comes out about it, I think we'll see more on the Russo stuff when it's actually allowed to be official. Whereas Ona, she could be talking to Barcelona from January. So there was a bit of a difference on that one. We've got a few more transfers I do want to cover in this one because I've kind of titled it Last of the Starting 11 Departures, and Lanzel put about Mary Earps earlier on. Before, I only want to briefly touch on Mary because there's nothing new on that one. But a player that did come out during Friday's show, I'd only brought it up because I didn't want to deflect from the Russo story at the time. It came out midway through. Tunkara and PSG seemed to be very cozying up to each other. I don't know why I said it like that. In talks, anyway, is the official line.
Makes it sound sordid.
I was going to say.
I mean, how do you do that with a club? It's strange.
In talks was the phrase that was used anyway. We don't know whether this is going to happen or not. She might stay. She might go. Whatever's going to happen will happen. However, I'm a little bit confused around this. And Barry, I'll come to yourself for why did we sign a player, barely use her, and then potentially looking to sell her a year later? To me, it just seems very weird.
I can remember doing the Polly Bancroft show live from an M6 car park in a service station. It was a terrible show because I kept on dropping out and it wasn't the most fun I've ever had of a day. But I remember having this conversation because the whole topic was about what is Polly Bancroft going to do, and there was a job description that was put out there. I kind of wish we had more job descriptions as to who's doing what. Like when you play Football Manager, you get to sit there and you give people jobs. You go, you're going to deal with transfers if you want to do that. Scouts, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. Tave, yes, it does. I'm really annoyed about Russo, but we're moving on from that. I think it's just who's doing what at the club, because so many people talking about Mark Skinner and not rotating, not doing those sorts of things. I think you've got to sit there and it's one of two things. Either they've bought them feeling they've got the potential and they haven't realised that potential. You know, we're not seeing good things in training and they don't seem able to do it. Or the more likely one, which is the possibility that he didn't actually sign it. And that's what I would like to have. You know, if there was a question that I could ask, that would be my question. You know, who's signing these players? Are they players that you wanted? Were they on your wish list? Or, you know, we get an all Roman Abramovich and people are saying you will have this player. You know, here's Fernando Torres, whether you want him or not. What's the crack? And I think for me, that's the big question when it comes to people like Tunkara and some of these players. So, yeah, that's really it for me. When I think of Tunkara, I've literally got one image, and that's her like putting Leah Galton into a net when she went in for a header, and that was in a pre-season friendly. So
we got excited by that.
I did get excited by that, incredibly excited.
She's going to batter people.
And then my last point, another reason why it might look like I've got a face like a smack bum is because the sun's been out and I'm probably sunburnt, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, for yourself, what's your thoughts on it? There's a couple of people mentioning management. A couple of people mentioned management above the management. It's coming here saying there's a pattern. We've seen a couple of players mention there, Leon Cascarino, Tunkara, that we've hardly seen any of. Obviously, Leon moved on. I do like this comment, to be fair. Some people flip houses, many other flip players. If we made a profit, then maybe. But what's your thoughts on it? Because I say it just seems, I mean, Mark's saying there, an unpopular opinion, maybe that's not good enough. As Barry said, we don't know what happens in training. That may be a reason as why we've not seen her. To me, it just seems odd, though. I know not every signing is going to work. You'll sign a player and maybe they're not what you think they're like when you get them on the training pitch or whatever. But to sign a French international, they're not a bad side, from Atletico Madrid and everything else, to not use her, and then she might still stay. This is all hypothetical, but then to potentially move her on to a well-established Champions League side at the end of the season. I don't know. Do you think anything of it, or are you just not fussed at all in the slightest that this might happen?
I mean, no, I'm not majorly fussed, but I think I'm not majorly fussed just because, like, we haven't seen her really, and when we have, it's been in those sort of cup games when the defense has just been poor a lot of the time, which obviously is tough if you're coming as a new centre back and you're playing in a makeshift back line with not regular starters and not the regular goalkeeper. That's difficult, and it's all well and good to say, and I kind of agree with this thing of if you don't if the player doesn't have the opportunity to play, you don't know what they're capable of. But for me, I'll look back at this season, and moaning and whinging about the centre back pairing that we had is something I'm just not going to do. I don't look back at that and go, oh, that was a bit of an issue. It just wasn't. And there are some things that I think you just don't faff about with when it's working. And your centre-back pairing is one of those. So she's come in, she's not got the minutes, whether it's because she's not been good enough or she's not been strong enough for the league, then you do move her on. There's no point in keeping players. A bit like, I mean, it happens, doesn't it? You get a player in, they end up not being what you want in the environment that they'll be in because the leagues are very different. So you move them on. Fortunately, she's got another year in a contract, so we get a fee, hopefully, if she goes. And then you get someone else and you try them instead. That's just how football works, really. But it's going to be difficult for any centre-back that does come in. It is going to be difficult because of the calibre of centre-back we already have. And some players will be up for that and come and muscle their way in, and some won't. I think people often focus on maybe the 3 signings that didn't get as many minutes as people might have liked, but there were lots of signings that Mark's made that have been successful this season. There's been 4 that have been incredibly successful, and one youngster, one other infant, has been out and had a brilliant loan spell at a championship club. So, 5 good signings out of 8. Not too bad, really.
I think that's the thing. People do like to focus on what we're going to be doing a few shows of this over the next few weeks anyway. But very quickly, Jess, before you jump in on this, are we going to be probably not in terms of caliber of player, but it's not always about the big name, and also we just don't have the funds that we just won't spend the money that Chelsea have. Like, it's just not going to happen.
I think we can be honest about that, though, can't we? Like, it's without going out and spending the money, we are going to struggle. I mean, we can be honest about that. That's the facts. That's the situation that we're in. There's no getting away from that. So we can't pretend that that's not a reality of where we are. But then, like Barry said, hopefully, Man United have never been brilliant at announcing signings when we would expect them to. So hopefully there are things going on behind the scenes. And again, if there aren't, I don't think that's down to the manager.
You'd hope not. As I said before, Mark shouldn't be.
He's not going. He's not going. No, I don't. I don't want any replacements. I want bare bones. I want just an 11. In fact, I like an empty bench. He's not saying that, is he?
But this is the thing. Really, when it comes to Mark Skinner, it really comes down to whether or not you like him as a person. I think is generally the problem, or whether or not he's playing your favourite player. Because, whatever they do, they'll find something. They will find something. If you don't rotate, even if you're going to win inside, you've got to rotate more. And then if you rotate and we lose, then you should have bought better players. So what chances has he got? There's no way he's ever going to come out on the right side of this for some people. So, don't try and please him. And as for that, we're not going to retire it. We're not. We're absolutely not. Like, people keep trying to poke me with this one, don't you? As if you're hoping there's going to be something else that you can stick up there in one of your But let me be clear, my annoyance with the whole Russo situation isn't just around the fact she doesn't play for us anymore. I don't care. I really don't. I've said it a million times. I only want players to play at this club that want to play at this club. I'm annoyed at the situation and how it's come about and the way in which she's presenting herself. That's it. Nothing else. That's what's got me fuming. Is just just be honest. Just be honest. Be honest.
Speaking of being honest, Jess, you're usually pretty honest on here. What's your? I can't even remember what the original question was. Now, what was Sankara and whether we think that if that happens, what's just your thoughts on it, really?
It's difficult to have any thoughts because I don't actually remember ever seeing her play. I'll be completely honest. I have a shocking memory when it comes to games, especially the kind of irrelevant early games and the cup games that we just bombed out of. So from the fact that she only plays in the cup that we bombed out of, I'll assume that I'm not going to miss her too much. I can't keep a straight face now. One thing I will say is I do wonder why we signed her. She's what, like 28, something like that? It seems like a bit of a poor move from us to sign a player at that age who's kind of on the kind of final bits of their peak, I guess, and then not play them. But again, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And like Barry was saying, I think if I could ask any question, it would just be like, who's making these transfers and why? Did we actually buy her with the intention of playing it, or did someone just say, oh, she looks all right in the bag, that kind of thing? Give 23 to Paris, that's fine. Actually, I think I'm going to take 23. I'm going to go sign for United. Mark, hit me up.
We'd back that. We'd sponsor you or something. There we go. All for United sponsor Jess to
Could do all right in a cup game. Put me in one of those Conti Cup games, the early rounds. I couldn't do any worse than we did this year, let's face it. So I'll take that. But no, I think some of the signings have been weird. But like I said, I don't know whether they've just been kind of ones that Mark's. There we go. Here we go. You heard it here first, everyone.
Confused a second ago, Connor,
Oh my
because
God.
this came up, and I'm like, Mark wants to keep Kira Barry, and I'm like, I didn't say he didn't. And then I read it properly. I'm like, I wants to keep Kira Barry. It was like a very moment there. That did. That's why commas are important, kids.
I think there's a lot going on behind closed doors that we're never actually going to get the answer to. And I think, I imagine quite a lot that Mark Skinner has no real choice in, to be honest. So I think if she wants to go, then I wouldn't want to keep a player like that could go to a team and be getting sort of first team regular football. I wouldn't want to keep a player in that situation. So I hope that if that's what's right for her, she goes and she gets good play time. She plays well for PSG, and all the best to her. And yeah, I just hope that she gets some game time, basically, for someone, if it's not United.
No, agreed. I just find it bizarre. I don't think it would be down as a failed transfer if she is to move on. But as I said earlier, not every single transfer works. Leon is another one. And yeah, there was a comment about further up saying I'm expecting some more outgoings. I would probably expect 6 or 7 if I had to guess.
Oh, that's a lot.
It's what you usually see, isn't it? You usually see a few, don't you? We've already had 2, so add 4 more.
7 more. That's
four, no, in total.
All
so
right.
4 more, 4 or 5 more.
What do you know, Connor?
And that's including a couple of loans as well. So maybe I'm not breaking anything on here. I'll get in trouble for that.
He's panicking now. He's stressed. He's
No,
sweating.
I was looking for a question. I can't find it though. I can't
You
find
come up
it.
with some of your own then, really, shouldn't you, rather than trying to come up with other people?
I'm just going to go on.
What is this, a Poundland host? What's going on?
Don't get paid enough for this. There you are. Yes, see marks with me. Think a few more. Lansdale's brought me on nicely to a kind of one of the closing topics. Obviously, it came out today. Catherine, who was on the show on Friday, put a piece out earlier on Kira Barry, actually talking about how she potentially is leaving on a free. There's a couple of clubs after her. But in the same article, a lot of people missed it. It was right at the bottom of the article, saying about how United are looking, and it seems very actively looking to sign Katie Robinson from Brighton, and also Emma Watson. That deal, well, I've said on here for ages, that's been done for a while. We're just waiting.
How old is she?
Katie, you've got...
No,
8.
Emma Watson. 8, yeah. Is she older or younger than Evie Rabjohn?
Well, Robinson's 20. That's Emma. I'm pretty sure she's pretty young, and I'm pretty sure she's like 19.
We need Alan Hansen to say it. You don't win anything with kids. And then boom.
Emma Watson's 17. So even younger.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what's your kind of thoughts on those two? I think, Charlie, I'll come to you first, only because you said earlier on that we should be signing more than just the youngster, and it seems like we've already signed Rabjohn. The next 2 signings, it's looking like it's going to be a 17-year-old Watson, who, by the way, looks unreal for her age.
Yeah.
And also Katie Robinson, again, looks pretty good. But I don't think is any better than what we've got. Not at her age, anyway.
Well, no, I don't think she's any better than what we've got. I don't think she's as good as what we've got as the wide forward. I think the best thing Katie Robinson did last season was continue to pretend to be injured, which meant that in the FA Cup semi-final, Rachel the Tank Williams had a free run at goal. It's an interesting one. I've like she's pretty good going forward. I think she's got sort of 10 goals and assists last year for Brighton in the league, who obviously weren't creating lots of chances, so it's kind of maybe difficult to judge what she's capable of when she's playing for a side where she's not surrounded by players that are as good. I think her game at the moment, probably what she tends to do doesn't match with what Mark would want. So defensively, I don't think she's a player that works hard defensively. Having watched her, but having looked at the stats, which are important, they're part of the picture, aren't they? Particularly when you're playing for a team that will be doing a lot of defensive work. And I think something we said about Skinner's side and his sort of wide forwards and his wingers is how hard they've worked tracking back across the course of the season doing the defensive work. So she'll be a different type of player, but again, isn't better than Galton or Garcia or Paris. So yeah, wouldn't come in and displace them, I don't think. But I've no issue with getting younger players in with promise, but I wouldn't exclusively go for that myself, particularly in the women's game when the contracts are still, like it's unusual, I think, when a player signs a 3-year contract, when the contracts are relatively short, unless you're sure they're going to stay for a long time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Jess, where do you stand on this? I guess for somebody like you said, you played the game as well. If you saw your team making a load of signings like this, are you excited? You know, the youngsters are going to bring something new. Or do you think that you need that? Obviously, we know we need that balance. We can't just sign a load of kids and that's the end of it. But what do you reckon on those ones? Because they're the only names at the moment that seem to be. There's another name that we're going to get to in a second, but they're the only two that seem further down the line that are publicly out there anyway.
Yeah, I think it's good to have you want a mix, like we saw with Grace Clinton as well last season. I mean, she came in, looked good for us pre-season, gone out on loan, done ridiculously well. Potentially another loan this season, then she might kind of make the jump into first team football. I think that is the way to do it, because there does still seem to be quite a gap between kind of under 21s devs into the first team. So I think, if you look at Grace Clinton as an example, that is sort of the way to do it. Having said that, we do need that balance. So it's great being linked with all these youngsters, but we're, Russo and Ona are they're big players, they're big names, whether you want to argue with that or not on the Russo side, they're big names. It's not just their kind of performances, it's their whole personality, it's just what they bring. They're international players. They bring kind of experience on different kind of levels, in front of big stages, big crowds, in high kind of pressure situations. So we need to get players in like that. When we had the FA Cup final, the difference between kind of our team and Chelsea was that I think we had maybe Keats was possibly the only player I think that had been in a FA Cup final. And that's something that we're lacking. We do need to get, I think, some more experienced players in. So yeah, for me, I'd be looking, not obviously keep an eye out on the youth. I think that's the future. The youth is always going to be the future. But yeah, we need to get as well a couple of kind of more experienced heads in that can kind of offer a little bit of guidance as well to the younger players that are coming through.
So I was reacting to some of these messages there. And Barry, for yourself, your thoughts on these two. We've known about the Watson one for a while, but Katie Robinson as well seems to be a bit further down the line now. And I'll tie this in as well, because it's not something I even thought of. The fact that if it's Robinson, it's another, I guess, winger. Where does that leave Kirsty Hansen in the pecking order if we're signing maybe another one?
Well, this is it. I mean, if you turn around and you're saying to me, would you rather have Kirsty Hansen or Katie Robinson? It's a no-brainer. You're asking, would you like to choose one of the players who is up for WSL Player of the Season? or would you like to have this person who's named after a fruit squash? And the answer to that would be, I'm going to choose Kirsty Hansen. I think Iona's point that she made there about signing one or two experienced players that have played in the Champions League to balance the squad out, that would be really helpful. If we could get some experienced players who've done that, absolutely, that would be really, 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 really good. I think the thing is, I mean, Charlie mentioned about, getting Alan Hansen, no relation to Kirsty, to say, you don't want anything with kids. The difference with that was that we had kids who played together in youth cup finals and youth leagues and all that sort of thing, that they knew each other, they'd played with each other before, they knew each other's style already. When you just start bringing people in, you need that acclimatization period. You need that ability for them to play together and get used to each other. It's very difficult to get lots of players together and get them to hit the ground running. And the reason why that's important is because if you're going to hit the ground running, you need to do that in WSL. We've shown that this season. We did hit the ground running, we kept running, and the only times we fell over were when we played Chelsea and Everton, really. And that was it. So I don't think just going for youth is going to be a good thing. Lanzel mentioned, could she be a super sub? We don't need one. We've got Lucia Garcia. She's a brilliant super sub. And, of course, Rachel Williams, who's now moving into a starting lineup position to replace Voldemort. So, there's no problems there. I didn't say it. Somebody else said it. I'm just going with the joke you're coming up with. So, listen, if Mark's going to want to, that's brilliant. But there's no point just bringing young people in. We need some names. And when I say names, I mean people that have been playing at a decent level. They're not necessarily going to be the big names that we go and spend thousands of pounds on. But we do need to get some people that have had some good experience. And we need to get some depth in this squad. And I'm not talking about just getting depth as in we've got players that can play the position, because if you're going to go and buy a 17-year-old, we've got 17-year-olds potentially in the devs. What I would say is if we are buying a 17-year-old, you've also got to take a moment and think, is there a little bit there that, the people that have been involved in the devs are saying, well, actually, this isn't a position where we've got someone who's potentially a graduate material as yet. So I just find it interesting when you buy young players from other teams and assume that they're ready, potentially. We did it with Grace Clinton and we sent her out to Bristol City. It's all great. This is all longevity. In the nicest possible way, Mark Skinner's not going to be given. It's a bit like David Moyes. He came in with 7 years and then all of a sudden he ended up having like 7 months. And this is the problem about being a football manager. You can sit there and do all the planning you want for all the trophies you're going to win in 2029, but ultimately all anybody really cares about is 2023 and 24. So that's what we need to do. We need to get prepared for what's coming. We've got the Champions League coming, and if you want to be able to rotate and have that depth, then we are going to need to go and get some players out there that are better than what we've already got. Simple as that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that one. I think there's a little bit of an overreaction, I guess, panic to the names that have been mentioned until today, anyway, when a couple of other names got thrown about Twitter. I referred to Mark's comment earlier. I wouldn't believe absolutely everything that you see online. But
I mean, the fact we're getting Emma Watson, I would love to see Emma Watson play against Arsenal next season, because we already know how that one works out with regards to Emma Watson taking on Voldemort.
Yeah, I'm not even going to comment. You talk about any Bundesliga player. There is one, and she's also a striker, but she's not coming to us, which is incredibly annoying. On that one, no, sorry. I don't know whether anyone who watches the Spanish league agrees with me, but for me, I'd stay clear. I don't think she's any better than what we've got, to be honest. So, we are actually, there's a lot of show talking about different types of transfers. Again, we are going to do a show on this. It was supposed to be today, actually. Poor Charlie got all prepared for the show on this, and then obviously the Honor News came out, so we had to do a transfer one. But we are going to be doing a more broader transfer where we talk about who we'd want and just go a bit crazy with dream signings, no budget and all that kind of thing. Basically playing Football Manager on here, so we are going to do something like that soon.
No budget, that's what we had this year anyway, wasn't
it? Well, some would say that, some would say not. Yeah, let's just talk about the transfer. Anyway, so the last kind of couple of points before we wrap this up, because we've already been going for an hour and 24 odd minutes.
If we get this one, we can have Pop Goes the Weasley.
You and your Harry Potter puns tonight. No. Yeah, Lanza, make sure you come onto that show. Actually, I'll drop you a message afterwards because I think you'd be perfect for that one. But Charlie, for yourself, Mary Earpson is another one that's getting mentioned about. We're being linked with a lot of keepers at the moment. I guess, are you? Because I've not really asked you. Well, you've not been on the show since, but are you worried since Emma Sanders put that thing out? The United have got a fight to keep Earps, because Earps all season, we've all said this. She herself came out and said if we get, she really wants to play Champions League, she really wants to get that. So we thought get the summer and something would kind of be agreed. Granted, not a lot of time has elapsed since the end of the season to now. But with the World Cup coming up, are you a little bit concerned that we're linked with a lot of goalkeepers and Earps still isn't tied down just yet, or are you just looking at it as you're expecting it to stay from now on?
I'm trying to just be less stressed about the whole thing, which is a learning curve. She's another one where I think female goalkeepers are. There's a dirt bike right outside my house, and I don't even live on a main road. Cross about that. It's difficult. When that story came out, I had a look at Mary Earps compared to other goalkeepers, and I was like, oh, there'll be one that's statistically better. There isn't. So we have got the best at the moment. So again, she's another one where even if she went for free next summer, I'd keep her. I'd still just keep her because we're going to struggle to replace. I feel an element of frustration if with players who maybe say they're going to stay if we get Champions League football and then don't. I feel like be a person of your word, but again, don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. Don't know what's triggered it if she wants to go elsewhere. I don't know. It could be nothing. It could be agents trying to get a better deal. We just don't know. I hate this time of year. I really hate it because it's just, as a United fan, it's just wading through all the SH1T to try and find the things that are actually relevant and not made up dross. So yeah, tough to replace, but I would keep her for another year and let her go on a free because we're not going to get any better.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. There's a lot of comments about Emily Ramsey. I'm very confident. I don't usually do this with transfer. I'm very confident I'll sit on here and say you will not see Ramsey in the United shirt next season. I'm very confident she's going. So don't expect her to be sticking around next season. Jess, Mary Earps, are you a little bit worried? I mean, Anson said Russo, Ona. Now we worry about Earps. Is that the next one? The difference, obviously, with her, there is another year yet.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit worried, but like Charlie, I think if we keep her for a year and she goes on a free, then that's the way it is. I'd keep her for a year. I would say if she does do that and then go, then we have to be, or the club, or questions need to be asked as to why we can't retain these quality players. And that's when you really are asking questions, because she's been quite clear with her intentions, which is that she would stay for Champions League football. Now, whether that's she wants to actually play properly in the Champions League, because of course we go into that weird qualifier game. She may want to push further, but then at that point we have to, again, like I say, be questioning why people aren't wanting to stay. Because if you want to play Champions League football, we want United to play Champions League football, we are going to have to get players that are going to be willing to kind of stick with the club. We've only been around for 5 years. You can't expect United to kind of get Champions League football and to win Champions League next season. That's insane. Although it would be great if it happened. So yeah, a little bit concerned, but at this point, I feel like I'm just experiencing PTSD or something, to be honest, after the last 2 transfers. That I just need a bit of a break. And I think another thing, Earps has been pretty clear. She made quite a few comments about investment and things like that. So I get the impression that she's sort of maybe not happy with some things that are going on behind the scenes. So I would say that I think if she does go, it's potentially going to be because of something kind of that we won't ever sort of find out about, something kind of going on behind the scenes, maybe. Like I say, in terms of investment in the women's team. So yeah, just have to wait and see. I would say that maybe some of the keepers we're being linked to is because we're also, like you kind of said, Rambo looks like she's potentially going. Same with Batlle. I know I've seen things on Twitter where maybe both of them could be going. So that's also why we've been linked to people like Hannah Hampton. I know, again, this is just random things I've seen on Twitter, so God knows how true they are, but we were linked to Hannah Hampton as like our kind of backup to Mary. Don't know how true it is, but we Uniteds, we get linked to absolutely everyone. We should just be used to it by now.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of that. Talking about that question, is Batlle our next keeper in Premier League? No, she won't be. Lanza was mentioning Leipzig, who I fought for on the Team of the Season show, as Ona saying there. Yes, I would love her at United, especially if Mary goes, because I think she's slotting as number 1. But I'm not going to say anything else because I'd get in trouble. So I'm just going to go to you, Barry. And
You've done that twice this evening. You've done that twice.
You spend too long listening to him, that's why. If you just ignore most of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, don't tend to worry about it too much. But that has caused me a problem, Connor, because I've got to know what the question is. Whilst you're thinking how you're going to reiterate that, just wanted to say to High Lane, I did try stand up once, but I'm so short that everybody thought I was sat down, so I wasn't allowed to do it again. What's the question, Connor?
It was just about Mary Earps, whether you're confident, concerned on her deal, because again, it's another starting player. That
I'm not confident that any player is going to remain at this club at the moment, because I'm worried that they might be using us a bit of a stepping stone at the moment, and that we're helping to build them up to where they are, and then they feel like they're going to go off to the promised land, and the grass isn't always greener anywhere else. We all do, to be honest with you, Carol. Charlie is literally the mouthpiece of AFU. I'm just here for light relief. Connor's the hair, and Jess is like the down-to-earth voice of the people. So there we go. So that's it. Funny Corbett of stand-up, exactly that. Yeah, he's my idol. Love the guy, and literally the same height as well. So all good. And that's my worry. I'm worried that there is going to be a little bit of stepping stonery. What we need are players that are going to stand up and say, we're going to stay at this club and we're going to work hard to try and take it further. I'd like to think that there'd be a bit more loyalty, but loyalty in football is gradually eroding, and that's the bit that worries me. I think she has been absolutely brilliant this season and was really coming into her own last season as well, and that has come through with her time at Manchester United. Equally, though, you're only a footballer for a finite period of time. So if she does want to play in the Champions League, she's going to want to play for a club that allows her to do that more and more often, which is why this season is going to be important. If we make it to the Champions League and we don't make it to the group stage and then we don't make it into the Champions League again, we've got ourselves a really, really, really difficult. Jess is great too. Connor and Barry are put up. Do you know what? Lots of people put up with us. You have to put up with Connor because it's his channel. You don't have to put up with me. You can put up a Twitter poll if you like. As we've said before, be heard. Look, there it is. That is the, if you want me gone, feel free. Oh, it'd be lovely to have a Monday night to just sit and watch Suits and carry on with legal arguments. For me, I just think Mary Earps needs to stay. I think they need to be a bit more. And that's the thing I'm worried about, is that if we don't make it into the Champions League next season, we're going to make life really, really difficult for ourselves in terms of trying to recruit players. So, we are going to need to do that. And to do that, we're going to need the players that are playing to do the business. And as long as they do that, we'll be fine. So, yeah, Mary Earps, she can stay, she can go. At the end of the day, I just want players that want to play for the club. That's all I care about. As long as you care about the club as much as we care about the club, then I don't care if you finish 1st or 12th. Like, genuinely, because I just want you to love the club. But I'd much rather you finish 1st, because I'm going to make my prediction for next season when the transfer window's closed. We know we've got. I'm not a moron. Nice try.
I was going to say, you're not going to do it now, are you? The window's not even open yet. I can't believe this as well. So you can stay, but maybe I'm guessing by that I can't. Am I going to be voted out my own channel? It's just like,
that'd be quite
it's a coup.
I think she listened to me when I said she can't get rid of you.
Oh, I was going to say, we've already seen one revolt today around a Man United women's group. We don't want another one.
You could replace Connor on screen with this and just make him like if I just do this, it looks like he's there. Look. Hey, look.
Jesus. Lanza's back with the.
I'm sorry, Marshall. He's back again. He's found some more.
But there we are.
Denise Law, Georgie Best.
Maybe I might put this on Twitter in a few days and just see what other people say on it. Maybe there's a whole list of names that we've not thought of. Anyway, It's not all doom and gloom. As I said, we're linked to a few good names. There's some good names out there. I'm still confident that we'll keep Mary Earps, albeit if she goes, she goes. As Barry said, it is what it is, but we shall see. Right, we'll wrap it up there. We've been going for an hour and 35 minutes, and it's getting really hot in this room now, and I need to go and put my fan on even more. Hang about, what's going on?
This is the one I wanted.
Oh, no, oh, hang on. Yes and no.
What? Yes on what?
Well, with the rest of women's football going up in value, United have got to keep up, is my thoughts on that. You can't just keep underpaying players in relation to... This is getting all political now because you're talking about inflation and everything else. But United
I'm not
have got
talking
to
about inflation. I'm talking about play for the badge, play for the club.
Oh, no, 100%. Yeah, no, 100%. Well, I read that as money doesn't matter as well. It does. You've got to pay accordingly to the rest of the league if you want to be at the top. If not, then just stick mid-table for whatever. But we won't be because we're going to... Landau's going to kill me.
We had a fair hand.
We can start a new group, maybe. Maybe I'll have to just set up a new one. Just start it on my own. Who knows? Don't start this again. Yes, I'm never going to change. So,
I think that reads as, do you still eat your burger, weird Connor?
Weird Connor, yeah.
Not do you eat your burger weird, Connor?
That's his new
one. That'd be amazing.
Yes, Carol, I still eat it with a knife and fork. For a lot of new viewers, this isn't going to make any sense at all. But yeah, so in answer to your question, Carol, yes, of course I do.
Also, by the way, for this one, don't forget, the song's going to be coming out if we do get her, Sweet Caroline. do. I'm all over it. Bring it in.
That would be an upgrade. We might do a separate show on her, actually, especially if the rumours start to intensify. But for me, that's an upgrade on Russo, I feel, if we can get a player like that in. It's not like Russo's got a backload of goals, is it? So there we are.
Get a few more digs in before the end of
That is fantastic, by the way. That is brilliant. Oh, Lanzo and everyone in the comments, you've been absolutely fantastic tonight because it was a depressing morning. It's been a fun evening or afternoon with these three as well. I don't know when we're next going to be back because it all depends when United are dropping things all over the place. We do have some specials lined up for the rest of the week, so if no more transfer news drops, they'll be out at some point throughout the rest of the week. So keep an eye on that. We'll obviously have a transfer delusion show, if you want to call it that, Dream 11, if you will, which Charlie's already prepared for. I haven't, so we'll get that in at some point. But yeah, keep an eye on the Twitter. Make sure you're following that, liking the video, subscribing, all of that jazz. And we shall see you guys whenever we see you in the next one.